I want you to breathe. I want you to breathe. I want you to breathe.
Hello, friends. Welcome back. We're Black and Curious. I'm Kandron.
What up, what up? It is your girl, Dehjai. How y'all doing?
And we are back with another topic. This kind of ties into the relationship with yourself, but it's kind of more of a pop culture spin on it. And if you've never been here before, welcome, of course. And we do a cross section between pop culture and real life. So you're going to witness that firsthand. Okay. Our topic for today is Dr. Wendy Osefo on the Carlos King podcast, Reality with the King. And she talked, I understood her better, and I wished that they had given her more context coming into the show because I think I would have liked her better. If you watch any of our reality recaps or anything I've had to say about Dr. Wendy, she is not my favorite.
Child, we, not just you.
Bless her
We
heart,
shared
she
that
is not my
sentiment.
favorite. However, on the podcast, I kind of understood her better. So basically, she was saying her whole life, her mom and her older sister kind of ran her life. They made the decisions for her. She, was going to be a lawyer and failed out of law school. And then, yes. So then they decided they had a ponderosa, mom and sister, and was like, well, you'll be a doctor then. So then she went to go get a PhD. And she said essentially that her coming on Housewives was the first time that she made a decision for herself, like as it relates to her life.
But like the only thing that threw me, because we talked about this briefly offline, and in talking about it, you basically were just saying like the same sentiments, like she's just now coming into herself. But like but I guess I do understand that like you can get to a place in your 30s where you start to redefine yourself. Because I made mention of that in an email to someone recently, where I said that I felt like in my 20s I spent a lot of my time trying to figure out who I was, and then in my 30s I was redefining myself. And what it sounds like is that she never had the opportunity to figure out who she was, and now she's married and has children and then is on this reality show, and so she's going through that self-discovery process, which sucks because you're doing it in front of everybody.
Yes. And like the reason why I say I wish we had known this is because I think it gives a lot more context to her story. So like for instance, when she came out the gate swinging with Ashley and was like, it's Dr. Wendy to you, it's like that is like someone who doesn't really know themselves outside of this title. That's sort of that sort of like, you have to respect me because of this title type of thing. And it makes sense that she doesn't really know herself, or she's just learning herself more. And we see her like fumble a lot and be very bothered by things, whereas like a Giselle, for instance, is just she's unflappable. Like you can't really shake her, and that is why I like her.
Giselle can't be bothered, child.
She just can't. And we see Wendy like working herself up, even when she's like reading the girls down or whatever. She's still like very worked up about the whole thing. It's not an easy read, which is why she's hard to watch. So like so, and I kind of like, I identified in a certain way with that because, she's a first generation, and we've talked before about how there are similarities between like first generation immigrants and people who are Black American but first generation doing things in their family and having to like juggle all of that at the same time. So it's like I understood what she was saying of like, you feel like you have to accomplish X, Y, and Z, but really you just want to make candles. Or like in my case, like feeling like you have to be some, I don't know, lawyer, consultant, whatever, which I like doing to a certain extent, but that is not what I really like. That's not what lights me up. What lights me up is thrifting. I don't know, like what or whatever, or doing service-based things. Like I like doing that kind of stuff, things that other people may see as like, you have this expensive degree, why do you like doing that? And it's just like, because I do. I don't know, like, that's who I am, and like I'm
Yeah.
comfortable with that because that's something I've been kind of two minds about my entire life. But you can see Wendy like grappling with it in real time.
Huh. I guess that, so having that as like the background, it makes more sense for how she's showing up this season.
Mm-hmm.
Um in the last, well, hell, last week's episode when she was like going back and forth. We haven't had a reality recap, so I figure we can throw this little bit in here.
Okay,
Um, but she
I'm
was
not caught up, but go
basically,
ahead.
what'd you say? Oh,
I
you're
said
not caught up.
I'm not caught up, but go ahead. Go ahead. I'm gonna catch up.
Okay. To the point of like when you said that it's when she's reading the girls, it's not an easy read and it becomes really hard to watch. So in this last week's episode, Mia, who we all know, everybody's controversial fave, constantly fabricating storylines
Problematic
in her mind.
phase.
Like,
But boy, did she lean in.
and did she? Okay. She basically fabricated this whole thing and it became like all this drama that she didn't have anything to do with. She inserted herself into an issue essentially, and then decided to fight the battle on behalf of this other person that did not ever say anything to Wendy. So if you've seen the previous week's episodes, I don't even know what episode that was in, but Wendy sat down with Peter to discuss doing a Nigerian lounge, whatever have you. And in this episode, they're talking separately in their confessionals about where they stand on the project. And Wendy's like, I'm just waiting for, like certain things that need to be cleared, like walkthroughs and all this other stuff. And that's what I asked for. I haven't gotten that information back. And then Peter's on the other end, like, she, like either put the money up or shut up type shit. And it's like, no, people don't just spend their money without having all the things checked. And
And let's
especially
be
with,
clear, Wendy's husband's an attorney.
that's what I was going to
Baby,
say. I'm like, especially with
no,
her husband being an attorney.
we're gonna have milestones. We're gonna have, if this is not done, then this is not released. I will release this amount at this point. Like, they're gonna be milestones. And I feel like Peter gives me very much like, oh, we'll just figure it out. And it's like,
Yeah, no, you're not
that
gonna do that.
doesn't work.
Even if Wendy did like flunk out of law school, she still has that similar backing, so she has an
Now,
understanding that like there's a proper way for business to be done.
let's be
And
clear.
isn't Eddie is he a finance attorney?
I don't know what kind of attorney he is, but he seems to be very business minded when Wendy comes to him with all her cockamamie ideas.
Yeah.
But also, let me just say this, as somebody who has gone through law school, I don't care if she did fail out of law school. Mama sat for contracts, because that
Right,
is
that's what
the
I'm saying.
absolute first class that you take. It's like first semester law school is like contracts is in the mix, okay? So she got enough.
Period. So on to the point. So she's having this whole like they're reading back and forth, blah blah blah, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then eventually Mia gets so flustered that she wants to throw hands. They remove her, and Wendy is still at the table. Meanwhile, like just going and going and going and going and going. And at some point, it's like you got to the point that you wanted to get to. You wanted to get her so flustered that she came outside of herself. Well, you did that. Shut up.
Yeah.
Like
Stop
girl,
here.
but let's stop here. But I also understand that she was also still in the moment and very much feeling the feel. So like,
Yeah.
there is no like, okay, I've succeeded point. It's like I'm
momentum.
gonna keep going.
Like, and another thing, and
Yeah.
I forgot this part too.
Right. And that the way you're moving is literally what happened. Wait till you watch the episode.
Okay, girl, we got understood.
Yeah.
So anyways, like I said, I think it's interesting with that context. Watching her, I feel differently about her now with that bit of context. She's still not my favorite, but with the context of like you're watching someone coming to themselves in real time, it's like, okay, I get it. And even down to like getting the body work done, it's like, okay, like this is who I am, this is what I want to look like, this is who I want to be on TV, I want to do this, I want to do, like, she's just coming into what it seems like a creative space, and this is probably who she's always been. before she got tamped down by whatever her mom and sister had planned for her life.
Right. I'm interested to see how this unfolds. Having the backdrop, it gives me a little bit more, I guess, compassion for her.
Yes.
But it's still annoying. Because when she's chilling, she's chill. I think, you know what? It also explains her awkwardness.
Yes, that's what it explains her awkwardness. Because like if you think about it, right? Like we all had these weird moments in our lives, but they were usually like in our early 20s, maybe, even like maybe to the mid 20s. Maybe even as you're getting older, like 30s, whatever, like transitioning moments. But it's like she's having very early 20s awkward moments as someone who seems like they were just very sheltered and everything was put together for them. Like it just seems like like she just never came into herself, honestly.
Yeah, child. Unfortunately, we watched it play out on TV, so hopefully she finds a happy medium soon.
Yes,
Because it
I hope
doesn't
so.
it does not lend to one having a great self-esteem if you're trying to define who you are at the same time it's being recorded and you're also being challenged on a regular basis. It doesn't this does not bode well for
No, and it's not fun to
self-building
watch.
exercises.
It's not fun to watch. Bless
So
her heart. It's not fun to watch. I would like to see her maybe take a season or two away to continue her exploration with her candles and all of these things and maybe
girl.
try to come back. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Or just not come on and be talking about all these things that you're doing that you've not really fully figured out, because it just makes it, I mean, I don't want to say it makes her look dumb,
Makes
but
her look
that's kind of
crazy.
where I'm leading. But I mean, well, it's like, so on the juju side of life, she's a Gemini. They can be flighty. Air sign people can be a little flighty, like, you know, pitter pattering from one thing to the next. So like, whatever, it is what it is. But
Also,
like,
though, she
hard to
talked
watch.
about this on Carlos's show too, of like sometimes how she approaches situations makes her look dumb, and she's not. She's just learning. This is all basically, like I said, we're seeing someone come into their own in real time and learning the ways of like the ways of the world, but you know, whatever, in real time. And it's weird.
It makes me wonder too, like if she has um girlfriend relationships or like a friend group.
I mean, I'm assuming that she does. That's the thing.
Having a little more context, I don't know that she does. I don't know. Y'all get down in the comments, y'all let us know.
Yeah.
We don't want to
Let
run
us
this
know.
conversation on.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kandron, could you link the thing in
I
a
will.
description
Yes,
if
yeah,
we
I
can
will.
find it? So that way you guys can listen to it too, and then we can keep the conversation going. As always, thank you guys for watching us, and make sure you're following us on all of our social medias and check out blackandcurious.com, and we'll see you in the next conversation. Bye.
Bye.